We are live.
Whoa, here we go. NFL Express week 2. Choo choo. Let's go. Well, right off the bat, we had some big surprises in week 1, and it was such a solid week. So much fun. I did okay. Not so great in fantasy. But I did really good in like one day betting schemes like DraftKings and stuff like that. How'd your week 1 go, John?
So in my big kind of league of records, my big leagues, I went 3-2 and posted a profit on daily fantasy. Man, had pretty rough week, but still came out ahead. Hit on a couple tournaments, which was awesome. But yeah, like usually I dominate cash games and do okay in tournaments, but it was the other way around this week. So, I was pretty happy. So pretty happy with what I got. And real quick, cross promotions, what I do. Head over to eatsleepfantasy.com. We are selling DFS lineups over there. It usually costs $5 a week, but this week is free. So head over to eatsleepfantasy.com, click on the DFS lineups, and whenever you get down there to subscribe for the promo code, type in week 2, WEEK, all caps, the letter 2, no spaces, and you get this week for free. So $5 for free. Go check it out.
And if you can't spell week, well, you got other issues.
Don't bet money.
Yeah, don't bet money. Stay away. So we're going to just break down the games a little bit later on in the podcast. But one of the things that John and I love, man, we love rookie classes. We love the draft. We love college football and watching how those prospects grow once they get to the NFL. So let's check in on these little babies, see how these little guys are growing up in the world. And let's break down some of these rookies, John. Tell us how some of these guys fared in week 1.
Yeah, so of the 32 first-round picks, a lot did not get to play in the first week. Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, Vita Vea, Isaiah Wynn's done for the year already, Hayden Hurst, Sony Michel, Rashad Evans. There's quite a few that were just kind of held out and did not get playing time. Now, my question is what we did. I went through and I broke down all 32 top rookies besides the ones that I just mentioned that didn't get playing time, and I ranked them from top to bottom. So I guess my question to you, Chuck, we haven't really talked about this. Do we want to start at the worst and work our way up, or do we want to start at the best and work our way down?
I say we start worst.
Worst. All right. Well, that one's pretty easy. So there were 2 players that finished, and again, a lot of this is based off of Pro Football Focus premium stats, which is just unreal. They have basically several different people chart every single snap from every single game, and they grade them out. So the last place person with a 41.2 overall grade was Frank Ragnow, the offensive guard / center for the Detroit Lions. He was considered a reach. I like him a lot, but he allowed 6 pressures and 2 quarterback hits. He didn't give up a sack, but one of those hits is where Stafford went down for a while. So Frank Ragnow was just awful. And
I say really quickly that Lions game, like it made me think of like an MMA match where the ref, like you're like, step in, call the fight. He's getting killed. Like you were wishing that somebody would just stop the bleeding. That was honestly, it was hard to watch. And I was surprised at how poorly he did. But please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
The sad thing is it's going to get worse because he travels to San Francisco and will be lined up against DeForest Buckner on about every other play. And DeForest Buckner had 2.5 sacks last week by himself. It's going to be bad. I'm just telling you that right now.
Going to be bad. Who's up next?
Rashad Penny, a favorite of this podcast, came out with a 47.3, and he got a lot of playing time and a lot of involvement. 7 carries for only 8 rushing yards. That's just abysmal. And then he had 4 catches on 5 targets, which was good for 35 yards. But again, Charles Barr, what have we been saying since day one with this kid on film, the running back out of San Diego? Try
to tell you folks. Try to say it. But you don't listen because all you see is a Madden running back, but you don't pay attention to what's called playing football. And playing football is not just one dimensional. It's not running really fast. It's knowing how to pass block. And he struggles with pass protection. You can't stay on the field. It's one of the reasons, really quickly, to jump in, that Hines has now started to come back on the field for Colts because he started to do okay in pass protection. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I mean, you had the #1 pass protector from the running back position, Nyheim Hines, in college, and he's getting all this playing time, even though he's been trash running the ball. He could protect the quarterback. Rashard Penny, the worst. He had 3 snaps in pass protection. He allowed Russell Wilson to get hit once, and then he allowed Russell Wilson to get pressured and roll out of the pocket and run out of bounds on another play. So you're 1 for 3, and you get your quarterback hit. It's no good.
And I would just say he has the physical physique to knock these linebackers out of their mind in pass protection. He's got no excuse. When you've got people who are smaller than him, you go watch Darren Sproles play and you tell me what his excuse is. It's an effort deal. Learn the technique. And you're going to be on the field, buddy. But if you don't, you're going to be out of the NFL.
Yeah. And so let's keep moving up. Another big name, Calvin Ridley, came in with a score of 50.4, the 3rd lowest rookie, 45 snaps. He got playing time, but 0 catches. He came away with a big goose egg. He had nothing going for him. And again, like, I hate to say this, but like, we told you these things were going to happen. He's the #3 wide receiver, and he's not physical. He's going to have a huge adjustment process coming out of the slot, and that showed day one. So, you do whatever you want for Calvin Ridley. Everybody that drafted him, you should have listened. We were here to help you, but it's what it is. He'll have a couple big games this year, but again, the gap between Sanu and Julio Jones is just huge. And even the 3rd wide receivers, Hardy, that's there, they're over him as well. So he's got a big jump to go through. Also, Lamar Jackson came in with the 54.6. Now, the crazy thing with Lamar, he got 30 snaps. Most people don't understand this, but he didn't really do much. If you look, and we saw him play again Thursday, they were the early game in week 2. It just looks forced, and it doesn't look good.
I just want to say that also, I think that they're trying to package him into certain schemes and certain things. So it's not really a super fair assessment to a baseline for him, because he's been in on a bunch of Wildcats. He was in on, an option play where I have no idea why they didn't call timeout, because the Bengals had stacked 3 guys to that side and they still tried to run the option that way. So it's not, I agree with you. He's going to take the longest adjustment to be a proactive or a contributor, but I got a lot of hope for him still.
Yeah. Well, he's a long developed process. And one of the funniest thing is, we go back to the draft process. Lamar says, I'm not playing receiver. Well, here we are week 1. You're playing receiver. It's kind of what it is. But anyway, DJ Moore, another guy that we were pretty low on, came in with a 55.8, 0 targets, only got 17 snaps for the 1st round pick. That's kind of a rough one. And the next guy is kind of rough for me, Mike McGlinchey, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame for the 49ers. But this one I have an asterisk next to. If you watch the game, both the starting right guard and backup right guard both left the game pretty early, and McGlinchey had to go play guard. He hasn't played guard since high school. And so he never practiced it, never took one snap at it, just 2 freak injuries back to back. And he struggled at guard. He was actually pretty good at tackle. It did just fine, but whenever he moved in, so this one I'm not putting a lot of stock in. He's great at tackle. He's not a guard.
Right.
So let's stay with offensive lineman Billy Price, the center for the Cincinnati Bengals, got a 58.1, played pretty well and played well yesterday, but he left the game and was in a walking boot. So he's going to be out for a while. They haven't released exactly what happened, but Billy Price is going to be missing some extended time for sure.
He honestly, his body composition doesn't make a lot of sense. It looks like when my son builds a man out of Play-Doh, like his bottom is as big as his top. Like he's just one mass.
Yeah.
He's a stocky boy, and I wouldn't want to run into him ever.
He's mean. His attitude is just awesome. His college film out of Ohio State was one of my funnest to grade just because he either pancakes somebody or falls down on his own. He's a haymaker type of guy.
Love it.
Colton Miller, the left tackle for the Oakland Raiders, came out with a 59.5. And just so you understand the scoring, once you get into 60, that's kind of starter, low level starter / backup level. And these rookies, I mean, they're rookies for a reason. They got a ways to go. But Colton Miller, 2 pressures and 1 penalty. He didn't give up a sack or anything, but nothing really special. He is just a pass protection guy. He is not really he's not a run blocker. Yeah. He just kind of protects the quarterback out of UCLA. Go ahead, bro.
Oh, I was going to say, I actually was impressed because the pressure that the Rams were bringing, especially later on in the game, hey, man, like, got to say, and we'll jump into this later, I kind of was impressed with a little bit of what John Gruden did with that game in terms of game planning. They didn't execute everything well, but Miller was taking some heat and he was handling it. So to come out with that grade as a rookie against that defensive line, although I think they're a bit weak on the edge, but they were bringing number 6 and 7 guys, and he was picking it up pretty well.
Yeah, and, you know, this is an old Parcells statement. I know Belichick has mentioned this lots of times. The first quarter is about coaching game plan, what you prepare for. Second and third quarter is about coaching adjustments. And then fourth quarter is all about what you do well. This is where you do your best game. And Gruden is great on the board. Gruden is great planning things out. He's terrible when it comes to game plan. Look what happened with Amari Cooper. Oh my gosh, 1 catch on 4 targets? Like, you can't do that. Like, that's just bad coaching, which Amari Cooper's nothing special anyway. He's a wide receiver too, probably at best. But it's come on, man. What are you doing? You got to figure this out. You got to figure it out. So moving on, let's go to Saquon Barkley. He's kind of middle of the stack. He comes in with a 59.7, and a lot of people are probably scratching their head right now. But here's the deal. He had 1 play for 68 yards and a touchdown where he went full Saquon. Outside of that, he was pretty bad. He finished with 18 rushes for 106 yards. So if we do this, basically he had 17 rushes for about 38 yards. He was not doing well before that.
Do we want to blame Saquon for going against probably one of the most elite defenses we've seen the past 8 to 10 years?
Yeah, well said. Very, very well said. One thing is they haven't been great against the run, but once they got Marcel Darius halfway through the year for free, then they were elite. He caught 2 of 6 passes for 22 yards, and a big reason why his grade was so low, he had 1 drop pass, and 1 of the interceptions were credited against him of Eli Manning. So that's a big reason why his number was where it is. Now we are getting closer. Let's get into kind of the starter quality. These are the plus 60 grades where you're going to say these guys were quality starters, maybe not high end, but they should have been starting. Quentin Nelson, he is just a plug and play guy. He comes out with a 62.9. Nothing really incredible about what he did, but I mean, he's solid. He should be starting. Terrell Edmonds, the safety for the Steelers, came out 63.2. Didn't really get a lot of stats, but that's what you want out of safety. You want them not throwing the ball his way. And with the wind in the game versus Cleveland, we didn't see that at all. And probably one of my favorite games, Sam Darnold, 67.9, gets the win, but a pick 6 will destroy your rating. Man, what'd you think of Darnold?
You know, I think that obviously he's surprised. I think that they have a defense that's kind of, got this ability to potentially really step up this year. Jamal Adams is a freak, son. I heard somebody give a comparison. I'll go back to Darnold in a second. I heard someone give a comparison of Jamal Adams to Brian Dawkins and really watched him play. And I kind of support it. He's got the physique to knock some people out.
And mentality is very similar.
And his range is fantastic, and his blitzing is amazing. So definitely love what that defense is doing. Sam just kind of slung it. I'm wondering about the level of competition.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what he looks like when he has, let's say, a top 10 unit in knocking at his door. What does he look like? Because that offensive scheme, it really doesn't look like they do anything too flashy. Um, Even for me, like just watching film to film to film, I'm not really blown away by the Jets. So we'll
No, it's
see.
a very simple West Coast scheme, and you can see
Right.
this in his numbers. He goes 16 for 21 and is pretty damn chill. It's just kind of who it is. It's short, dink and dunk passing, which is great for a rookie and kind of quick. But the thing is this, like he's got 2 more weeks to chill. Listen to this. Listen to the schedule. This week he's got Miami Dolphins, the Jets do, then the Cleveland Browns, and then after that, at Jacksonville, then Denver. So we're going to know week 5 exactly what Sam Darnold has, because at Jacksonville and then Denver, there's not a tougher stretch as far as pass rush goes. I mean, that's pretty intense.
Just a really quick note too. It's hard to grade some of these guys sometimes because I saw this graphic this week on Twitter. Dang it, whoever you were, put out the route trees from week 1.
It's probably Matt Harmon. Probably Matt Harmon. He is one of the hardest working, but whatever.
So the Jets look like, honestly, like you and I drew up a flag football team. You're going to run a post. You're going to run a 10-yard out. You're going to run a hook. And then you look at McVay, you look at Shanahan, and these don't even look like recognizable routes. They don't look like anything you've seen before. Look at George Kittle's route tree. Honestly, it looks like somebody just started abstract art and just was like scribbling their hands places. So I think that's tough because he's going to be a really predictable quarterback if they don't change it. And then we might not have the greatest metric for if he's talented or if that scheme is too simple. I saw a guy who could play. I'm worried about him in that scheme moving forward.
Yeah, I'll say this, Quincy Enunwa, if you are a fantasy person, this dude is going to be close to 100 receptions, and he is free right now. So take that for what you want. Quincy Enunwa will be the #1 wide receiver there. Marcus Davenport, the Saints defensive end from the UTSA Roadrunners.
Reach.
He traded, big time reach. They traded away not only their first-round pick this year, but also a first-round pick next year. And so 67.3, nothing too big. Got a couple pressures, nothing big. Bradley Chubb played really well against the pass, not so much against the run. 67.4. He got 7 pressures in that game. He did not come up with a sack, but he was kind of a liability in the run game. He was just blitzing all out, which worked for him. So you got to take that. Daron Payne got the start for the Alabama defensive tackle, 68.2 for the Redskins. Played very, very well. Got a lot of snaps there. Leighton Vander Esch, a lot of people weren't sure he would be able to play. Came in with 69.6 for the Cowboys. I don't know. He didn't look great, but he was just a guy that did his job, which I think the Cowboys need. You need Sean Lee to stay healthy and do what Sean Lee does, and you need Leighton just to clean up the mess, and that's kind of his role there.
2 things. Number 1, don't sleep on this Cowboys defense. That's coming from an Eagles fan. I'm watching them play. They have the ability for pass rush both inside and out. They don't need to rush many to get to the quarterback. The linebacking core plays fast, folks, as fast as you're going to see in the NFL. The secondary isn't half bad. It's probably their liability, but they still play well enough. And I heard a comparison, number 2, that an announcer said in the game, and I really agreed with it, was that Sean Lee is kind of the equivalent to Luke Kuechly if he had stayed healthy in his career. Sean Lee is really a force when he's on the field. I mean, and he's so intelligent. He's calling out plays, but the guy has just been absolutely obliterated in his career by injuries. So respect to him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. If everything stays well, and they have a couple key starters on suspension because, Cowboys, and if they get healthy, then who knows? That defense could actually be decent. I think Marinelli is one of the best defensive coordinators in the league with doing a lot with a little. And also, I'll stay on this. Eric Flowers, not a rookie, the worst right tackle in the league, graded out as such, had a 38.9 and 2 penalties and pass blocking grade. He's going to be going up against DeMarcus Lawrence all week this week. So that's going to be the key to that game. I could see the Cowboys winning this, but I could also see Odell having about 400 yards. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Moving on, Roquan Smith, the super high middle linebacker pick, came in at 69. Gronk smiles, 0.9. But he only got 8 snaps because of his holdout, but he got 1 sack and 8 snaps and another run stop. So
first play.
Yeah, I mean, the dude, he should be able to play every game. Congratulations, coach. You made your point. You lost your game because you didn't manage the game correctly. For the Bears, you got Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, Roquan Smith gets to play a full tilt of game because he is special.
For sure.
Now, this guy you're going to love. Derwin James grades out with the first player in 70 range, 1 sack, 1 pass breakup, and 2 tackles. This kid, it was awesome because his plays happened back-to-back. He makes an amazing pass deflection, 25, 30 yards downfield.
Yep.
And the very next play, he gets a sack. Like, he's just your well-actioned, everywhere safety. He's awesome, man. That kid is special. He should have went higher. He should have went so high.
And think about, too, the last 2 DBs to come out of Florida State, Jalen Ramsey and Derwin. I mean, these guys are cranking out some elite #1, going to be Pro Bowlers. So
now, you got some other guys, though. Tease Tabor, you want to claim him? He's not doing so good.
He's from the Gators.
Oh, my bad. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, don't put that on me, bro.
Sorry, dude.
Don't put that on me, bro.
I'm not a Florida guy. Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Okay. It's okay. I'm going to take my coffee right now. I'm going to forget about it. Go ahead.
And also another difference is Charles drinks coffee. I drink Corona and Jameson. Okay. So that should let you know about our analysis.
A 2 and a 5-year-old who run my life. Go ahead.
I have a wife taking care of my children.
Okay.
Man up, son. I shouldn't have said that. I apologize. And just want to say thank you to all the women out there that are taking just wonderful care of our youth. We thank you. And the NFL Express Pod just salutes your service. All right. Moving on. Mike Hughes, man. Gosh, this pisses me off for the Minnesota Vikings. 73.1. He played awesome. But the big reason why his score is what it is, he had a pick 6 against Jimmy Garoppolo where the wide receiver not only ran the wrong route, Jimmy Garoppolo gave a hot read. The wide receiver did not see it. He also fell down on the route. So it was kind of, he got a gift, but he did play well outside of that. Now let's get to the Buffalo rookies. They got 2 bad ones. I shouldn't say bad. Josh Allen came in and played pretty well. 73.3, came in late for Peterman and was actually the highest ranked offensive player for the Bills. That's how bad the Bills were. He went 6 of 15, 74 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions, but he didn't make any mistakes, which for the Bills that's a compliment. And then Tremaine Edmonds, their linebacker on the other side, came in at a 60.1. He played every single snap, got 4 tackles and 1 pass breakup. That kid is going to be special. So I know he graded out poorly here, but he's a very raw athlete.
Not yet.
All right, we're down to our top 3. These are the last 3, and they're really 2 tiers. These next 2 guys are close to each other. Minkah Fitzpatrick came in with a 75.6, the top-rated Miami Dolphin, and he is exactly as advertised. Not a flash player, just consistently always making plays. His stat line is low, but he is already one of the best force players in the NFL. What I mean by that is he is lined up at strong safety or corner, so on and so forth, and they want to try to run the ball outside. He comes up and attacks with leverage every time to turn the ball carrier inside to the linebackers. So it doesn't show up on a stat sheet, but it grades out positively because all the highlight plays where you see the running backs bouncing outside for the huge touchdown, that ain't going to happen against this kid. He is just fundamental. No stats. It's just who he is, but very positive play in, play out.
I'll tell you a team that really struggled with outside containment was the Browns. It felt like James Conner had his choice of going outside or in every single time. And like you said, if you go watch this Miami defense, no, he's he's rounding them off every single time.
Yeah, and that's a huge characteristic of a Greg Williams offense that predicates itself on outside pressure. So Myles Garrett didn't grade out very positive, and a lot of this has to do with scheme. They shoot their outside pressure guys straight up the field, and they do not have run gap really responsibilities. So if you attack inside that C gap or B gap inside the offensive tackle, and so you get up and then bounce it out, there's no contain there. Well, I absolutely hate that scheme.
And to the Cowboys' credit, back when Andy Reid decided to let Juan Castillo go from offensive coordinator to defensive coordinator, we ran the was it the wide 9?
Yeah,
which is the same concept of just coming straight up the field first. Well, the Cowboys, what they do, they just sent guys on draws the whole time. And then they're able to hit that C gap and go for 10 yards a pop.
Yep.
So sorry to go on a tangent, but you know, that's what Mika brings to the table. There'll be none of that with him on the field.
And so, yeah, this is a huge kind of discrepancy between 90s football and where we are now. If you're in a 4-3, a wide 9's fine because you have your Sam linebacker who's a run-stopping maniac in that huge giant gap, and that's what he does. But we run 4-2-5s and nickel packages now, so you're taking that guy out and bringing a small guy like Minkah in. Most guys can't do that. However, Minkah gives you that flexibility. So anyway, without further, let's move on to the top 2. Jaire Alexander, 72.6. I was low on him throughout the draft process. The nickel corner out of Louisville, man, he looked good. He was all over the field, blanket coverage, and almost every single big play that Randall Cobb had in that, or sorry, not Randall Cobb, I apologize. Other side of the ball. Almost every single play that the offense had, it was completely taken away. Trey Burton got owned by this kid. Jaire Alexander was all over. And if you, the one play, if you saw the picture on Twitter where Trey Burton's wide open in the end zone, it looks like Moses parted the offensive defensive line and Trubisky's staring at him. It's what it is. Trubisky took a -5 yard sack. So that's such a great picture, man.
Don't give up on Burton yet, though. Don't give up on him.
I traded him in a fantasy league, man. I ain't gonna lie. Straight up for Doyle. I want consistency.
All right.
I don't like losing because of a tight end. I can't stand that biz.
You're better. Go ahead. Number 1.
All right. The number 1 player, and it's not close, folks. Denzel Ward, the Ohio State cornerback, grades out at an 85.6. 2 interceptions. Not 1, but 2, and a pass breakup on top of that. And it could have been higher. Anything above 90 is elite level, but he did get burned for a touchdown eventually in that game. But absolutely amazing play. Just great game by Denzel Ward. He did everything to get his team to win, but coaching matters. And coaching is what eventually, I guess, forced the tie. I don't know. Maybe.
So, I don't know if you saw my amazing tweet. I think it got like 2 likes. And then I think I maybe retweeted myself. I
been there, brother.
Been there. That Denzel Ward had as many receptions and yards as Christian Kirk and Michael Gallup combined.
Yeah.
So good day to you, sir. Denzel Ward. You win.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel that was a really cool breakdown. I feel like we should come back to that, dude. That was kind of fun.
That was a lot of work, but we spend so much time on the draft, and as soon as the season starts, we just throw this stuff away. And so the problem was I wanted to keep going and focus on second and third down picks, but again, I know it's not going to be a 3-hour podcast, but man, there's so much information out there. And Fred Warner, by the way, rookie of the week. I got to throw this out there for the 49ers. He was by far the best rookie in the entire NFL week 1, third round linebacker out of BYU. Holy freaking cow, that guy was amazing.
You know what we could potentially do, just shooting ideas out here on the air, recording live, it's all good, is take a look at grading guys post-draft of like what we think that they're going to be by week 16. In grading week 1, 8, and 16, or 17 rather, and then coming back and seeing like how accurate we were. Anyways, just something.
I like it.
Tuck that away. All right, so moving on to some news and notes of the NFL before we get into some of these game breakdowns. Sad day for me. A guy I invested into because I thought, and I think he's still going to be a fantasy relevant guy, have a big year. Joe Mixon. They say 2 weeks. John thinks it's longer. He makes me sad when he says it. But Joe Mixon so far, yeah, he hasn't been a monster, but the way he's running the ball, the way he's catching the ball in that offense, if not for this injury, I feel like he would have been a top 10 back. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, but he looks great. I think he'll be out 3 to 4 weeks. I mean, you put somebody under and you cut open their knee and you're a running back, like you're talking 2 weeks to work it out, best case, and then a week and a half to be full go.
Okay, fine. So that is the saddest news I've heard because I have a lot of stock in him. Next up is Devonta Freeman. Can you imagine taking Devonta Freeman in the second round? What's that like?
Well, he's been one of the most consistent, and so I get it. But if he's going to miss any game, this is one of the best ones. They got the Panthers, insanely tough to run up the middle. But I can tell you this, Tevin Coleman will get his fantasy points and workload because he is not dependent on running through the tackles. He can catch very, very well. He's going to get a huge workload. And another rookie to keep an eye out for, Ito Smith. We're going to get a C. He was on inactive because they didn't need him last week, but he's going to get some carries.
What are your thoughts about Fournette? You think that he's a game time decision?
Yeah, he's playing. He's playing.
Do you think he's playing?
Yeah, he's playing.
Okay, that's really good news.
Yeah, I'm telling you, right? So I saw this tweet put out there. I believe it was Elliot Chris. It's probably somebody else, but I'll give him credit. He works hard. The average questionable tags that the Jags put on people, 58% of those people usually play on Sundays. So he's got a little bit better of a 50% chance, and he even came out and said, yeah, I'm fine. I'll be able to play. So he should be just fine.
Word. Okay, that makes me really happy. Are there any other players that you kind of want to mention before we go into some of these games? Just quick breakdowns.
Yeah, one real quick. It's just the Tennessee Titans. They just announced they're going to be out their left tackle and starting right tackle, who Taylor Lewan and Jack Conklin are both Pro Bowl, all-pro type level players. And so they are both out, and guess who they get to play? Oh, the Houston Texans. So with J.J. Watt healthy, Whitney Merciless is going to be back, and of course, the super big stud that went number 1 overall. So there's going to be so much pressure there. I'm very scared for an injured Marcus Mariota already.
Yikes. Alrighty, so the narrative for Mariota is not going quite as planned, but let's just jump into this. We're going to kind of go through the games for the week. We're not going to spend a ton of time, but just really quickly, I love Twitter. Twitter's so funny. Here's what I got to say. I don't mind predictions. I don't mind people who feel emboldened about it. But if you're wrong a lot, you need to stop it, okay? You need to reassess yourself and you just need to look at your own track record. That's all I'm going to say. Because there's certain things that people, I kid you not, I saw so much stuff about Ravens are like Super Bowl bound. They're going to own this league, from people who weren't Ravens fans. I'm like, man, let's just get more data on these folks before we go down that road. They got embarrassed that first half. I'm going to tell you what, AJ Green, he just ate them. And
I love that he had 3 touchdowns on 3 catches. Like, what the hell, man? Come on, man. Come back down to reality here.
Dude, he just went full Madden on them. So respect to them. Moving on, though, let's kind of start with this Panthers and Falcons game. Tell me, you just spoke about Tevin Coleman. I worry about him. I don't see him as an RB2 this week. I think he's a flex play, and I think you'll challenge me on that. And I'll tell you why I think. I think that this Panthers team is going to hold him in check. Go ahead. I'll let you get it in.
This is a messed up game. The spread has the Falcons at home at -6, but they lost their all-pro linebacker Deion Jones and their free safety. So this is huge. I'm telling you right now, Christian McCaffrey might be the number 1 running back as far as fantasy is concerned. But then if you go to the Panthers side, their corners are down too. So this is a lot of injuries on the defensive side. I can see this being a very high-scoring game. It's indoors at Atlanta. And it's a division game, which is scary. I want to vote. I want to pull for the Falcon, or not the Falcons, the Panthers in this. I just think they're going to win it just because I don't believe in Matt Ryan with this offensive coordinator. So unless Julio gets another kind of 180-yard game, I think Carolina's just going to be able to bash the mess out of them.
Yeah, and just one last little poking the bear. DJ Moore looked awful. So there you go. Yep. And the Falcons, good Lord. Let's pray for them. Those poor guys. Let's just pray for them. Moving on. You got the Chargers and the Buffalo Bills. What an odd sort of game that might be coming our way. Are the Chargers going to show up healthy this week?
No, they're not going to, because they just don't do that. It looks like Eckler might be out. He might not be playing very much. And this is scary. Anytime that you have a West Coast team flying all the way across the country for an early kickoff, that is just weird. It messes with your body. And so I do think that the Chargers win this. But the fact that the Bills get 7 points and are at home makes me a little worried about the thing. So I'm still going to go Chargers. But this is going to be a low-scoring defensive game, in my opinion.
Yeah. And have they decided on Peterman versus Josh Allen?
Yeah, they named Josh Allen. He's going to be the guy. But, again, I mean, congrats. You're playing with the Bills. You still got Zay Jones and Kelvin Benjamin to play with. Which, man, real quick, did you see what Zay Jones' mom tweeted out? He is becoming one of my favorite people.
Enlighten me.
Okay, so somebody was talking trash to Zay Jones' mother on Twitter, and so she comes out and basically says, "Man, you're retarded." I should have said that word, but that was the type of language she used. And Zay Jones has to tell Kelvin Benjamin where to line up and what route to run every play. So the animosity between the starting wide receivers is just wonderful. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome. So anyway, take that for what you want.
Wow. Oh, I think McDermott might be out of a job soon, although he's just much better suited as a defensive coordinator. So God bless him too.
No personnel, please God.
Right. Vikings, Green Bay. This is going to be a great matchup. I think that some folks might be getting walloped in this game. Who do you like, given everything that happened last week with the comeback and how the Vikings looked? Who do you favor here?
I got to go Vikings. Better defense. With Aaron Rodgers not healthy, I get he's at home. But if he goes down, there's 0% chance. And that defense is for real. I think it is the best defense in the NFL. I'm going Vikings here.
Yeah, it's hard to compete with that. I could argue you. Okay, but their secondary is...
It's hard to pick against Aaron Rodgers at home. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's not fun. But Vegas is actually on their side. So Green Bay is -1, which usually the home team is favored by 3. And so the fact that this isn't a 50-50 game, Vegas doesn't see it that way. They basically are 2-point favorites to Minnesota. So it's a coin flip. I'll always, anytime it's close, I go with defense, especially in divisional games, defense.
Respect to NFC North, man. I mean, the Aaron Rodgers has got to face 2 top 10 defenses, with the Bears and the Vikings. So,
yep.
All right, moving on to a game that people are trying to hype up. I don't know how exciting it's going to be, but we love football. So Browns versus the Saints at the Saints. Do we see this Saints defense finally flex on some people and say last week was a fluke? This is us.
I hope so. I had the Saints as a top 5 defense, and they came out and got Fitz magicked all over their face. Ooh, so we'll see here. But the market game is 49 points, almost 50. It's going to be a high-scoring affair. I could just see both teams airing it out. I see the Saints jump out to kind of like a 10 to 14-point lead at halftime, and then it's just going to be an air it out in the second half. Probably one of the funner games to watch in the second half this week. So if you're one of those people that watch on Red Zone or whatever, it's going to be fun to watch because they're going to be going up and down the field.
And if you played Kamara in fantasy last week, I'm sorry. I did too. I'm still sad about it. All right.
Yeah. You're talking about going against him, right?
Yeah. It was awful. Basically killed my life. Dolphins at the Jets. Not a snooze fest completely, but one of the lower, energy games, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I'm excited to kind of see, though, the next step for Sam Darnold. What's the consistency look like for him? Crowell looking like he's not going down without a fight. It's like he's saying, like, go ahead, keep fading me, keep, put me down in the rankings. I'm just going to come out every week, look solid in pass protection, fight for every single yard that I can get on. I've got a little bit of wiggle. I can break away. Dude, I mean, if he can show it against this Dolphins defense and put it on him, he's going to be a hard guy not to become a starter in your fantasy lineup. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going Jets. They're at home, -3, so which basically means this is a coin flip game. I'm going with the Jets here. Home team.
And the biggest rah on Twitter, we get it, Kenny Stills, and you're correct, but you're not saying anything new. All right, next is the Texans at Titans. I thought that this was going to be Corey Davis's breakout game, but given the fact that they might not have the pass protection to make that happen, I'm kind of doubting it. Might be a week to play the Texans defense. I'm not really sure. But who are you favoring in this game?
Oh, this Texans game. But I think you might be right still. I don't think the Titans win, but I think they fall behind early and they turn into a pass-heavy team, which we saw them do last week. You look at the carries and the snaps between Derrick Henry and Dion Lewis, man. They went straight pass-heavy, and I think they're going to do it again. Corey Davis, he's got a little bit of a hamstring issue, but I'm telling you right now, with Delaney Walker gone, Corey Davis is going to have 15 targets. I just see it happening this week. So I think you're right, but I still think they lose.
Do you feel that they left the Derrick Henry game plan early last week?
Oh, terribly. Yeah, it was way. And I'll say this, if you look at kind of that offensive scheme that the Titans run with McFleur, it favors a pass-heavy approach. But he abandoned that way too soon. And that was the weirdest game ever. It was like 7 hours with all the delays. So you don't want to take too much from that. Let's give it some time. Let's see what they look like this week. But I'm picking the Texans.
Super odd game.
Yeah.
This is kind of an interesting game just because of the dynamic between these two teams. The Chiefs at the Steelers. You've got this Patrick Mahomes character that we're kind of ready to knight him and say, all right, he's legit. Let's get a little bit more time with him, though. But again, he's going up against a soft, mushy defense. So I don't know how much stock I can put into this game. And then you got the Steelers going against a not great defense. So I kind of got Pittsburgh going off on these folks. And I don't know. I think Patrick Mahomes might get a little bit desperate. I think we might see a 2-3 pick game for Mahomes. That's my prediction. How about you?
Yeah, it's coming, man. And I'll tell you this, that Kansas City defense is one of the worst. And if Eric Berry doesn't go, I'm telling you right now, Ben Roethlisberger, even though he's not 100%, he's going to throw for 4 touchdowns. This is not going to be a run-it-out game with the weather and that defense like they saw last week against Cleveland. They're going to air the ball out. And I'm telling you right now, Antonio Brown and Big Ben Roethlisberger are going to be getting a lot of volume.
And Juju on the beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Juju's legit, man. He's pretty solid. He's beyond solid.
Next up is, my favorite game, the Eagles versus the Bucks. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of we're losing Darren Sproles this week. So if you're into the daily betting, Corey Clement is going to be an interesting play there. They keep saying that Jay Ajayi is going to be the workhorse back. I want to see if they can put their money where their mouth is this week against this front seven. This Bucks front seven is no joke. So I want to kind of see how that works out, but I can't disrespect the Bucks in this game. What they did to the Saints, the Eagles have got a matchup in front of them. Forget if it's Jameis or not. This is a talented team. They have got a great wide receiving core. I would say top 5.
Yeah.
Mike Evans, Chris
Godwin. Yeah, man. I love that kid.
Brait, OJ Howard, and Peyton Barber's doing his job. average offensive line, great front seven, surging secondary. They're getting better. So again, the Eagles could lose this, but I still have the Eagles favored because that defensive line is just they wreck game plans. You can plan for them all you want, but come the third and the fourth quarter, they've worn your offensive line down, and it gets really hard to score on them. The team from last week, the Falcons, didn't score their first points into the fourth quarter. So just put that in your pocket. I think that the Eagles end up winning by probably 14, I'd say. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they're, favored -3.5 points on the road. That says a lot. But the problem is, man, Fitzpatrick is just a wild card. So I'm going Eagles here as well. But again, golly, man, would you be surprised if they come out and do the same thing again?
I don't, because what happens with Jalen Mills is he really gambles on guys in games like this. And big time receivers have definite advantage towards Jalen Mills type folks. Tell me what your thoughts on this Colts Redskins game.
Man, Alex Smith is for real, and that Colts defense is what we thought it was. So the fact that you have a bad defense mixed with a bad offensive line is scary, and the Rams' defensive front is no joke. So I don't know, until we see what did Andrew Luck threw 53 times, I think, last week off the top of my head. I could be wrong on that, so I'm sure they'll tell me on Twitter. But unless he throws 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, I don't think they're going to win any games. He's going to have to play like one of the best quarterbacks of all time, week in and week out, with this offensive line and poor defense. So I'll bet against them in almost every situation, especially on the road. Washington's going to get the win here.
Gotcha. Let's see. Next up is the Cardinals and Rams. I don't know how much longer that Bradford's going to last. I kind of think he lasts maybe one quarter in this game, and then it's over.
Well, I'll tell you this, and here's the thing. If you listen to the Around the NFL podcast, which I'm a big fan of, done by the NFL Network guys, they had Ndamukong Suh on pretty early in the summer, right after he signed with the Rams, and they brought up, you are in division with Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford went first, you went second in the draft. And he goes, I know, we play on week 2 and week whatever. He knew off the top of his head. And they asked him, do you circle those dates? And he goes, oh, hell yes, I do. He's like, all I want to do is end his career. Wow. And so here we go, man. I've been saying for a long time, Sam Bradford does not make it out of week 2, and I hate that. I never wish injuries on anybody, but that offensive line is not great. Their backup center is terrible, and you're going against the 2 best pass rushing defensive tackles. This is my lock of the week, and I don't even bet on divisional games ever. But if there is one game I'm betting on, it is the Rams versus the Cardinals. I don't think this is going to be pretty.
Gotcha. Next up is the Lions at San Francisco. Go ahead, man. This is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, I mean, last week I picked Minnesota over the 49ers. This week is no joke. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to show you who he is. This is a favorable matchup on both sides of the ball for the 49ers. 49ers win this one by more than a touchdown.
Ooh, bold prediction. You know what? I think that we might be, unfortunately, watching Matthew Stafford kind of finish his career in a really odd way and
it's not his fault. It's not his fault. That's what sucks. I'm not a Stafford guy, but Matt Patricia is a garbage defensive coordinator, and it's looking like, it's early. I'm not trying to jump to too much conclusion, but that defense was never good. He gave up the most yards in the NFL last year for New England, and now you come over to Detroit with less? Ugh.
I'll tell you what. The Patriots are the beer goggles of the NFL. They make players and coaches look better than they are.
There you go.
Yes. Raiders at the Broncos. And again, every single time that John Gruden is suiting up and they're putting his players on the field, it's cringeworthy. His game plan was solid against the Rams, but I'm just waiting for him to get blown out, or for this, for sort of the internal combustion to happen for this team. I like Denver in this game a lot, actually. So your thoughts here?
Again, I'm going Broncos big time. Bet on defense. The worst defense in the NFL is the Raiders. Broncos, man. Broncos.
Gotcha. Next up, I'm going to tell you who I'm favoring, and you should know it. I'm favoring the Jacksonville Jaguars.
At home versus the Patriots.
I'll tell you, and I'm going to get even bolder on you. I think they beat on them.
You and Blake Bortles, man, I swear.
It ain't Blake Bortles. I think that this defense is think it's one of the best defenses I've seen. Yeah, I mean, in my life, I feel like it's one of the best that I've seen. People might think that that's a stretch, but
yeah,
I definitely think that they're just starting, and they're veterans who've been really besides Calais Campbell. Their veterans who have been, cornerstones for them are replaceable. It's their youth that is the most dangerous part of this defense. That the core reminds me of the Buccaneers, where they drafted all that talent really in close proximity to each other, and that core carried them for years. If they could get outside of Blake Bortles and actually get a quarterback, what is the Jaguars ceiling? It's crazy, but they already committed all that money. I like the Jags by more than 10 against the Patriots.
I'm staying Patriots, man. I just don't believe in a quarterback like Blake Bortles, especially early in the season. I'm going Patriots there.
Yeah, and I'll be glad to take your money. Just kidding. Giants at the Cowboys. I'm not too, weirdly enough, being an Eagles fan, I always get pumped up to watch the two guys go against each other. I'm not really excited about it because the Cowboys offense is so lackluster. I'm just wondering what they're going to do. I think that they could probably have some success against this Giants defense, but again, this isn't a game I'm going out of my way to see. Saquon, Odell, that's cool. Other than that, like what else? I'm not really into it. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, if Cowboys lose this game, I'm telling you right now, not that their season's over, but it's going to be done. So I'm picking the Giants here. I actually think they're a better team. I think Dak Prescott is great if he had the system, but man, that is the worst wide receiver core in the NFL, and that's talking with the Bills included.
Oh man,
isn't that bad? Like that's bad.
That's
their offensive line's not great on the interior. I'm going Giants here.
Yeah. So this next game to me is a dangerous game. This is a game that I feel, you get hyped up on the Khalil Mack and the Bears being a top 10 defense and the whole in, and look at all the tools that, the Bears have, but Russell Wilson is just a game wrecker on the offensive side of the ball. I know they lost Baldwin, but it kind of doesn't matter with these folks. They just do what they kind of want to do, and he runs all around him and makes a play here and there. I like the Bears, but I don't like them by much. How about you?
No, I'm going Bears here big time. I think that they learned a valuable lesson jumping up 20-0 at half and then allowing a team to come back. And I hate to say this, but that Seattle roster is nowhere near as talented as the Packers. So I'm going Bears here, man. They're at home, and I think they get after it, and I think they learned pretty early, don't give up. So I'm starting the Bears in a lot of fantasy formats this week.
Well, man, that is all the games this week. This has been week 2 kind of wrap up. And I'll tell you what, man, my favorite segment from this podcast inside the podcast was that breakdown of those rookies. We got to come back to that. That was awesome.
Yeah, we'll see. And if you guys like that, please let us know. Reach out to us on Twitter. Where do they find us, Chuck?
At NFL Express Pod. I had to think about it for a second. I want to mess it up. I think here's the reason why. Do you know how many different NFL Express, different Twitter handles there were? I had to find the right one. Anyways, so this has been NFL Express. Choo choo. I feel like I have to do that every time we get off. See you guys next week.